God bless you. My name is Pastor Harris Kakalides. In this program, we will take time to talk about the evils of evolution. We have to remember and learn from our past history, so we will not repeat it again. If one is taught in school that life came by chance and there is no creator, which we all have to be held accountable for, one will in time do as Germany did so many years ago.
Corpses, corpses, and corpses. The pestilential exhalations of the fascist charnel houses poison the world. They slaughtered old folk and children, men and women, Russians and Poles, Norwegians and Frenchmen, defenseless civilians, and prisoners of war. They hanged, shot, burned, and asphyxiated. Death and extermination was their motto. I ask you, in connection with this resolution, did you, Keitel, who held the rank of Field Marshal and who repeatedly in this courtroom called yourself a soldier, did you, in September 1941, by this bloodthirsty resolution, sanction the slaughter of thousands of unarmed soldiers taken prisoner by your armies? Is this true? Yes, this is my signature. Keitel was compelled to admit. Yes, it was his blood-stained signature.
Something that is not recorded in many
The Nazis slaughtered people from all
documentaries
countries
is the
of Europe
fact
in
that
their
8
death
million
factories.
Christians were killed by Hitler.
They would have
8
turned the
million
whole world
believers
into a
of
Maidanek.
Jesus Christ was killed
Britain,
by Hitler.
Mexico, and Canada would have become
7 million
Dachau's
Jews
if Hitler's
were
hordes
killed
had not
by
been
Hitler.
stemmed and routed.
And multitude of others who were killed.
Let the nations of the world remember this. Murder was a profession and an industry with the Nazis. They even turned death into a commercial enterprise. They did not leave even the corpses of their victims in peace, but cold-bloodedly turned them to account. They cut their hair from their scalps and sent it to Germany to be made into mattresses. See the sacks and bales filling these warehouses? How many women must have been slaughtered and scalped to fill them? They pulled the gold teeth and dentures from the dead. The gold was sent to the vaults of the Reichsbank, into the treasure chests of Schacht and Funk. Here are some of these dentures. And here are gold teeth already melted down into ingots. The Germans turned blood into gold and used the gold for the shedding of more blood. Here are rings taken from the fingers of the massacred. The Germans had a factory in Danzig where they extracted soap from dead bodies. This is the factory, the raw material. The soap made from human beings. This ghastly and damning evidence was presented by Soviet prosecutor Smirnov. Here is human skin, dressed and tanned at the factory. From it, the Germans made gloves, ladies' bags, and briefcases. What manner of creatures are they, then, these bipeds in the prisoner's dock? Is there any punishment commensurable to their crimes? No, No punishment is fit enough for them. In their final speeches, the prosecutors demanded stern retribution. The American prosecutor said, if these men are to be declared innocent, then there was no war, no massacres, and no crimes. The British prosecutor said, they slaughtered 12 million people. For such a crime, they might with every justice have been executed without trial or investigation. The French prosecutor said, when messieurs the judges retired to consider their verdict, they must in their silent deliberations hearken to the blood of the innocent crying for retribution. The Soviet prosecutor said, I appeal to the court,
which many schools nowadays are denying and saying that the things that were done in Germany were not true. We hear in school about school shootings and terrible things done in our schools, and one might ask, where is God? But we have to remember, one cannot talk about one's Christian's faith in the schools. God is not mentioned. Christianity, the Christian cannot talk about Jesus Christ being the only way of salvation.
Light on his complex character, guarded by his boys, stormtroopers, he stands alone against this impressive background, face to face with the gigantic idol he has made of himself.
If Hitler knows nothing of the sentiment common to mankind, it is because a single passion, all-absorbing, dominates him. He wants to be not only the greatest, the most powerful, but the only master.
Even above God, whom he does not recognize, unless the clergy submits to his will.
We do not want any other God but Germany itself, cries Hitler. Goebbels echoes, God manifested himself not in Jesus Christ, but in Adolf Hitler. Christ is a false prophet, for he was a Jew, and Judaism is the source of all woes.
All kinds of books are broadcast expounding the Nazi theory.
Bolshevism, the fruit of Christianity.
The fall of the gods.
The Pope wants war.
Catholic priests and Protestant clergymen, including the martyred Niemöller, are attacked or imprisoned when they resist the imposition of the Nazi theory upon their religion.
Greater than the cross in Germany is the hooked cross. Hitler's power, symbolized by this cross, must be imposed everywhere, on everyone.
And it even descends, this cult of Hitler, from a certain grandeur to the completely ridiculous.
Heil Hitler!
Heil Hitler!
Heil Hitler!
Heil Hitler!
Heil Hitler! Heil Hitler!
And so the people heil, and they fly the flags. Obedience and discipline.
Sie gegen jedermann zu vertreten und zu schützen, so mitzuhelfen am Aufbau eines wirklichen und besseren Friedens.
Never before, perhaps, had such frenzied and bloodthirsty ravings come off the printing presses.
For those that will argue that evolution takes the value of life, this is the title of the book that Charles Darwin wrote, On the Origin of the Species by Means of Natural Selection or the Perseverance of Favored Races in the Struggle for Life. Doesn't this title diminish the worth of life?
But he can and does dope his dupes with growing doses of anti-Semitism.
He puts into effect his theory of racism, according to which only the 100% Aryan is worthy of living and propagating his kind in Germany.
How different from the ideal are the leaders themselves.
Hitler, thinking far ahead, sets out to capture the youth of Germany. But Hitler, who has made racism the foundation of National Socialism, cannot be sure that he himself is a true Aryan.
His father was the natural son of a young woman named Schicklgruber, and he nearly came to bear that name himself.
Could he have become the master of Germany if that had been the case? Instead of Heil Hitler, imagine the Nazi salute, accompanied by the ridiculous chant,
Heil Schicklgruber! But as it happened, an old man, Johann Georg Hitler, at the age of 84, acknowledged as his son Adolf Hitler's father, the illegitimate Alois Schicklgruber, at that time 39 years old.
Was old Johann Georg Hitler really the man to whom Maria Anna Schicklgruber, the farm girl, had surrendered 40 years previously?
Famous men, if they are Jews, are forced to flee their country.
3 Nobel Prize winners.
Einstein,
James Franck.
Freud.
all have to go.
And should the fever show signs of abating, it can readily be whipped up again.
Shops are branded and then broken into.
Wrecked.
Plunder.
Any attempt at resistance is a signal for a beating. A collective fine is imposed on all the Jews in Germany. A total sum running to millions of marks.
Those who resist go to the dreaded Dachau concentration camp, where 100 die in the first 5 weeks.
The showers of the German concentration camps are a different kind of shower. In place of the cooling mountain water, their jets carry deadly cyanide gas. Showers of death for the unwanted, race extermination. Even the clothing will be salvaged. In its death throes, the Third Reich will overlook nothing usable.
The enemy is looking to take over our youth, especially in the United States. One of the reasons why the Ten Commandments was removed in 1980, the case was called Stone versus Graham, was to stop posting the Ten Commandments in the public schools. What was the reason? This was the reason. If the posted copies of the Ten Commandments are to have any effect at all, it will induce the school children to read, meditate upon, and perhaps venerate and obey the commandments. This is not a permissible state objective under the establishment clause of the First Amendment. I don't know if you understand what I'm saying. The reason why the Ten Commandments were taken out, the court states, it was because they might obey the Ten Commandments. And what does the Ten Commandments says? Thou shalt not kill. Thou shalt honor your father and mother. Thou shalt not covenant what other persons have. Thou shalt have only one God. Thou shalt not take God's name in vain. Thou shalt not steal. Well, this is not bad. Thou shalt not commit adultery. Those things are not bad. But yet, what's being implemented in schools is the theories of evolution, which says life has no meaning. They read Charles Darwin book, which it talks about the favored races and struggled. Well, what was the favored race? Which Charles Darwin had in mind? Well, it was the white race. Darwin was a racist. In Germany, it took over the youth. And if they took over the youth, they were able to take over the world. Look at what's happening in this time. The youth is being fed the biggest poison in the world, saying that life came by chance. Well, we're gonna watch next 10-minute document on how Germany, from childhood, taught these children, just like Muslim countries. From childhood, they take the children from the parents and they teach them jihad. We see this in Germany at the time of Hitler as well.
As a reporter who spent quite a bit of time in Hitler Germany and who wrote a diary which had the good fortune to be read widely by a great many Americans, I've been asked by the Army-Navy Screen Magazine to talk about the film you're going to see. Well, the film is concerned with the Nazi youth movement. That is, it's about what Hitler has been able to do with the young people of Germany during the 12 years he's been in power. It's also enemy film, captured on the Western Front only a very short time ago. Perhaps that's one of the remarkable things about these pictures. They're so terribly recent. This is not a film of 5 years ago, or even of 2 years ago. To be precise, this is training film photographed in the winter of 1944 and 45, when, by all ordinary standards, the Germans should be ready to quit. Germany cannot be defeated, their set faces say. Let the very old doubt. Let the seriously wounded and the mortally ill believe all is lost, but not they, the young people. They, the young, will not betray the sacred trust put in them by their Führer. They will still carry their banners high. And where, we ask, does this strength come from? Why are they so confident? Where does it begin? Here's where. And here, in this crib, or in a carriage where a baby lies, his mind like a fresh tablet, white and unruled. Anything can be written on that tablet, as the Nazis well know. So they begin their education for hate and death, war and conquest, by taking the child from his parents and turning him over to the Bund Deutscher Mädchen, a young girls' organization with over 1 million members, already dedicated to the principles of Nazism. We will not permit them to lapse into the old way of thinking Hitler has said of the children in these carriages. Instead, we will make them state children, and we will raise them according to plan. In Hitler Germany, when a child is able to walk, he's also able to march and to carry a flag. I saw many such demonstrations as these during my years in Berlin, and still they go on. Children who learn to say gun, grenade, and Stuka at an age when you and I were learning the meaning of words like cat, rat, and bat. And instead of playing with dolls, they're taught to make helmets. Who uses a helmet? A football player, yes, but also a tank man. Here again in this group of Jugend, as they're called, we get the meaning of total war. Here in these children, now a little older, and proudly exhibiting their swastikas, we see what the Nazis mean when they say that every member of the new generation must be brought under the spell of National Socialism. Today we know from the Nazis' loud boasts that there is no schoolboy, no apprentice working in a trade, whether a girl or a boy, who is not a member of some Nazi youth organization. In fact, such membership is compulsory, just as every young person is forced to dedicate himself to Hitler and the divine mission that Germany will one day rule the world. No, the young mind of the German child is no longer fresh and unruled. Hitler and the Nazis have marked it indelibly, black and deep with ideas we know belong to the Dark Ages, racial superiority, religious intolerance, and no respect for the rights of any people other than German. On the German report card, the word behavior has been changed to obedience.
And here we see a group of Hitler youth being rewarded for their obedience and for the things they've learned, for knowing 141 experiments in gas and their antidotes, for knowing how to shoot, not only a rifle, but a machine gun. At the same time, they're taken on strength through joy tours and shown German monuments. Much time is spent on Frederick the Great, for he too once had the combined strength of Europe against him. But his enemies failed to remain united, and Frederick the Great emerged triumphant. And these German children are made to believe that the same thing will again happen in this war, that the English and the Americans hate each other, and that they have a common enemy in Russia. Every nation knows that its future resides in its youth, but no nation has known it better than Germany under Hitler, and none has worked harder to impress its young people with the ideas of sacrifice. And that's why, after 5 years of war, after Germany's cities have been bombed mercilessly and 6 million of her soldiers lie dead, the youth of Germany still wish to serve Hitler and eagerly accept jobs aboard submarines as helpers. Nothing would excite and please these young Nazis more than to venture into hostile waters on such a ship and sink important Allied shipping. This is General Guderian, a German hero to whom Hitler has given great power. We can understand the importance of young people in the minds of the Nazis when we realize that these personal appearances are part of a German general's daily routine. Guderian must not only match his military skill against men like General Eisenhower and Marshal Zhukov, but he must be ready at all times to impress upon the youth of Germany that Hitler is counting as much upon them as he is upon his armies. In the past, some have made the mistake of comparing various Nazi youth organizations with our own Boy Scouts and our YMCA. It's a bad comparison. This group of kids is not figuring out how to perform a good deed every day. They're not interested in helping a blind man cross the street or carrying an old woman's packages. This is war. These children know it, and they want more of it. Now we can begin to see why the German boy is so confident and why, when he learns the war is now being fought on sacred German soil, he is eager to volunteer for a labor battalion, eager to march off to dig the necessary tank traps and defense ditches. On the Western Front, we've captured boys like this. Because they are boys, we have not believed they were dangerous or a threat to our military operations. Only gradually, and at a cost to American lives, have we learned that they are fanatical Nazis, ready to spy and sabotage. Some we have executed, and others we have sent to prison for life. Now they furrow all Germany with fortifications, but when the time comes, they're ready to stand behind them with the guns and machine guns they've learned to use so skillfully and efficiently. Here, in an unidentified German city, the Hitler youth of 18 is welcomed into the Wehrmacht, but the welcome is merely a formality, for there has been no real transformation from civilian life to army life, as there has been in our own country, in England, and in Russia. These men have never known the pleasures of a home, of a family, of going to church on Sunday, and of having a sweetheart that one day they plan to marry. The entire life of these men has been in a Hitler uniform. Hitler's orders, stated clearly in Mein Kampf, have been obeyed. This is the German citizen of the next 25 years. This is the man who will still be a threat to any permanent peace when the guns have ceased firing. And it's because of them that the occupation of Germany is going to be one of our most difficult problems. These men are tough. We are going to have to be that much tougher if Americans don't want to be back in uniform in another 10 years, fighting Germany all over again.
There were victims in Germany, and most likely there will be victims again from those who believe that evolution is true and life has no value.
Soon will come the martyrs of Majdanek and Oswiecim. From the ditch of Kerch, the dead will rise. They will rise from the graves. They will rise from the flames, bringing with them the acrid smoke and the deathly odor of scorched and martyred Europe. And the children, they too will come, stern and merciless. The butchers had no pity on them. Now the victims will judge the butchers. Today, every drop of spilt innocent blood will speak for itself. And every wrinkle will call for retribution. Today, the tear of the child is the judge. The grief of the mother is the prosecutor. Oh, what a long and painful road judges and prosecutors had to